Hello, my name is Robbie. Can you tell me your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Murat Yilmaz.
Okay. And can you tell me where you're from?
I'm from Turkey.
And can I see your identification, please?
Of course. Here we go.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, in this first part, I'd like to ask some questions about yourself. So, to begin with, do you have a brother or sister?
In fact, I do. I have one older sister,
Uh-huh.
and yes, she's left home a
Okay.
while ago. She lives in the United States,
Okay.
and yeah, there's a 6-year age difference between us. And
Okay.
of course, it's amazing to have an older sister.
How do you think having brothers and sisters is an advantage or a disadvantage?
In my life, it's definitely been a big advantage for
Uh-huh.
me, especially since she's always been guidance for me, and
Mhm.
I've been able to learn from both her mistakes or anything that she's done in life, and
Mhm.
she's been able to teach me going forward. And even my study, even my decision to go to the United States was influenced by her. So
Okay.
I definitely see it as a big advantage.
Okay. And how do relationships between brothers and sisters change as they grow older?
When we were younger, there was always fights going on around the house
Uh-huh.
about, who has the remote control, silly
Mm.
fights like this. But as time went on, we started to get along much better. And I think this is mainly because we're able to identify with each other on different level because we're both more mature.
Mhm.
And so as time goes on, it's become a stronger relationship between us.
Okay. Right then, I'd like to now ask some questions about the United States. What's your impression of the United States?
So since my sister has studied in the United States
Mhm.
and I've been there a few times, I have a great impression of the United States because before going there, I was always told by people, what the United States looks like, how it's so amazing, all the architecture, just everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely did not disappoint because the first time I landed in Boston, just taking the taxi cab from the airport to my sister's house and just looking around, and it felt like such a different atmosphere compared to Europe. And so I definitely have a positive.
Okay. Do you think many people still view the United States as a favourable place to live?
I don't think it's as favorable as when there was the American dream, perhaps
Okay.
you might
Mhm.
say, and due to current events going on in the world, people might not view it as favorable. But I still do think that people want to definitely go to the United States and start a life there.
Okay. How do you think the world role of the United States will change in the future?
I personally think that it will be maintained and they will keep their strong position. I don't see it changing too much just due to the power they have within human society and their rich history. So for me personally, I see it continuing as it has been for the past 50 plus years.
Okay. And what effect do you think US media have on the world?
I think it has a significant impact because sometimes you even see, just talking from personal experience, people are more involved in the elections in the United States
Mhm.
rather than what's been going on in their own country. And it also affects people's schemas of the world and the stereotypes they have about certain genders or specific races due to what has been going on in the United States.
Okay. Right. I'd now like to ask some questions about exams. How did you do at exams when you were at school?
I feel I did particularly well, especially as I started to get older.
Mhm.
And so I would definitely say it was, not perfect, but I
Okay.
feel I did well.
And what were some of your strategies for doing well at school?
If
At exams.
I were to talk to someone who's about to enter any type of exams, whether it be their final exam of high school or just any exam within their grade, I would definitely recommend to get out of the house,
Mhm.
don't lock yourself up in your room. A really important factor for me was playing football
Mhm.
because that really helped relieve stress and just forget about everything that has been going on. And then I found that when I go back to studying, I was able to concentrate better. So definitely just get out of the house.
Okay. Do you feel children should be assessed by exams or not?
I feel to a certain extent they should be, but exams don't always identify where a child is, because not everyone is able to perform under that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it should be a mix of some normal exams, and the teacher should observe their behavior in class and their approach towards class, which that's what I think is really important, the approach they have towards learning, because in the future, I personally believe that that's what's going to be most important in seeing how far they go, because they will be able to identify their certain major or what they want to do in life. So if they have a positive approach to learning, then you can already guarantee that that student is going to take a positive approach in what he or she does.
Right, now I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. And before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so here's your topic, and here's some pen and paper for notes, and please start preparing. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now remember, you only have to talk for 1 to 2 minutes, so don't worry if I stop you in the middle. Please start talking.
So a memorable journey that I once took was when I was in high school. We went on a trip to Prague, and the reason that we took this trip was it was part of our CAS criteria, which is known to be creativity, action, and service. So what we had to do was go to Prague and help out on a farm as well as a homeless shelter, and we were in Prague for 3 days. We went there by train from Krakow. And why this journey was particularly memorable to me is because it gave me a different approach on the outside world, because I particularly feel that often we are given a certain image of different types of people by the media. So this trip helped me to realize that happiness is not purely defined by how much money you have. For example, we could see at the homeless shelter, you might think that these people are all alcoholics or judge their life decisions, but it helped me to realize that they find happiness from different things in life, and like everyone else, they're just trying to do what's best for them, get out of their current situation. And that really influenced me, because they're not giving up regardless of what has happened, and also just reinforced the idea that to not take anything for granted. And also helping out on the farm helped me to learn more about the different types of labor and what people do in order to make a living. I feel sometimes we're almost forced into believing that creating a business, getting a lot of money is the only option out, but these people seemed perfectly happy the way they were.
Okay, and did your classmates also share the same perspectives as well?
Definitely. Just coming back from the trip, and more than that, we were also able to get along better with each other, because we all had the same outtake on what we had seen, because considering all of us went to an international school, we were very open to what we saw, and we saw different cultures, which was particularly important.
Okay, good. Now I want to ask you some questions related to this subject. So to begin with, I'd like to ask you about globalization. What do you understand by the term globalization?
From globalization, I understand the integration of different activities, any sort of changes, political movement, in terms of business, into creating a more shared community. So you can define it as a world in which access to knowledge, for example, is available to everyone.
Okay. And how has globalization affected people's everyday lives?
It's definitely made life a lot easier because I think just comparing the experiences I've had in life compared to my dad's and the changes in globalization, it's made communication a lot easier because now, due to this communication, of course, there's the fact that you can, get along with your friends, but also in terms of business and the impact they can make on different communities, it's allowed to access knowledge on a greater scope.
Okay. And what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of globalization?
So, as I previously mentioned, I think a huge advantage is the fact that there's easier access to communication and what you're able to share with others. Disadvantage of globalization, I would say, is that it's also talking in terms of business. It's also killing smaller competition, for example, or local stores as such, and people are forgetting about their own culture and their own history, their own background, and so that's why I think that's a disadvantage.
Okay. What role do you think the English language will play in an increasingly globalized world?
I think it will play a very important role because I can just see for myself that having grown up in an international society, but also playing football in clubs outside, you can see that more students are required to learn English now at their schools. And so why I think this is important in globalization is because, as I mentioned, communication. It will make communication easier and people will be able to share different ideas without misinterpreting what others have to say.
Okay. I'd like now to talk a little bit about social networking. How has social networking affected people's personal lives?
It's definitely made it more open, I feel, because a lot of things that you do or you say, sometimes when you're angry or happy, it's shared on social media. So that's why I think more people know how you're feeling or what you're doing.
Okay. What are some of the dangers of social networking for young people?
I think a lot of people don't realize that although it may seem that you're just talking to your friend, a lot of this information is actually not so private, and if anyone wanted, they could quite easily see the messages you're seeing. So it's not as safe as people think it to be, and it's also opened new ways for things such as bullying or fraud and different things like that. So it's always important to be taught a lesson about the consequences.
Okay. And how do you feel social networking will change over the next 20 years?
If it changes as much as it has in the past 30, 20 years, then I could definitely see it going more towards the direction of videos and interaction in terms of images or new technology in order to make it easier to just talk and with one another orally. And I think so because of the current changes in technology and how things such as, for example, Instagram stories, they're becoming more popular. So I think more people will start to share what is going on in their lives.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much. That's the end of the test.
Perfect. Thank you.